Hi everybody. So in this video we'll understand how to install Puppet Enterprise. So this is the kind of infrastructure demo I'm going to show you. So we are going to have 4 machines. So one machine will act as Puppet server, in which I have already installed Ubuntu. The host name is puppetserver.mylabs.com. The remaining 3 systems will act as Puppet agents, in which my first agent will have CentOS 6.8, second agent will have Windows 7, and the third agent will have Ubuntu. So in this way I can actually show you how you can install agents automatically through your Puppet Master, because Puppet Master needs some configuration. Basically we need to do some configuration in the Puppet Master such that he can supply the agent setups to heterogeneous OS. So I'll be showing you that demonstration also. So for this entire hands-on, the kind of hardware setup that you require for your VMs is, for Puppet server it is mandatory to have 4 GB RAM, and I'm going to use hard disk 20 GB because I'm just doing this for demonstration purpose, but for production it is expected to have 100 GB hard drive space. And I'm going to use processor core as 1 core processor. However, for production it is expected to have minimum 2 cores. So suppose if you don't satisfy the hardware requirements, you might get some warning during the installation process, but still you can continue the installation. And when it comes to agents, I'm going to use 1 GB RAM for each VM and a hard drive of 20 gigs with 1 core processor. So I'll be doing this entire setup in VMware Workstation. So you all can also do it. You need to have your base system with minimum 8 to 16 GB RAM, and a processor as maybe Core i3. So let's go ahead and start our hands-ons. Let's first install Puppet server. Okay. So before we start the installation process, we need to do some prerequisites. Number 1, we need to permit the root login for SSH, and number 2, we need to set up the host file and the host name. So let's go ahead and set up the host file and the host name. So I'll open a new terminal. I'll open sudo let's say gedit /etc/hostname. So I'll give some separate name. I'll go ahead and say puppetmaster.mylabs.com. This is the name which I'm assigning to this machine. I'll click on save. I'll close this file. Similarly, I will also edit the host file. So basically I'll just provide the IP address. I'll link my IP address with my host name. So my host name that I am interested to set up is puppetmaster.mylabs.com. I'll just open sudo gedit /etc/host. So here I will add the IP address space, I would say puppetmaster.mylabs.com. I'll save this, close it. And once you set up your host name and the host file, it is recommended to restart your machine, because in Ubuntu if you change the host name it is mandatory to restart, or else the changes will not come in effect. So I'll go ahead and I'll quickly restart this VM. So I'll say sudo init 6 just to restart it. So my system got restarted successfully. If I check the terminal, you'll see now my host name is changed. If I just type host name, yes, it's puppetmaster.mylabs.com. If I try to ping using this host name, puppetmaster.mylabs.com, so you can see he is able to successfully ping. So once we set up our host name as well as the host file, which is a mandatory step for installing Puppet Enterprise, the next step what we can do is we can go ahead and permit the root login for SSH. So let's go ahead and set up that. So I'll say sudo gedit /etc/ssh/sshd_config. So in this file we need to go ahead and we need to allow permit root login. So I'll just search for permit root login. You can search it here, somewhere here you will get it. Yeah, so you can see a permit root login here. It's written without password. I'll just specify this as yes. Okay, so this is a mandatory step. You need to perform this step or else you will face some issues during the installation process. I'll save this file. That's it. So we have completed the prerequisite side. So two things: we need to set up the host file and the host name. The reason why we are doing this is we don't have a dedicated DNS servers. If we have that, we can skip that part. And then we need to set up the SSH configuration with respect to permitting the root login. Once we complete that, we need to restart our SSH service also. So for that I can say sudo service sshd restart. Okay, it's SSH actually, since we are working on Ubuntu. And now once we complete that, we need to install Puppet Enterprise. So I have already downloaded the latest version of Puppet Enterprise till date. So I'm using Puppet Enterprise 2016 5.1, which is the latest version right now. So I'll just type here. I'll first of all go ahead and start this prompt in root. So I'll say sudo su. It is always recommended to work in root whenever you work in Puppet. Okay, so I'll just say here *-xvzf Puppet Enterprise. So this will extract the entire folder. Once it's been extracted, I'll say cd Puppet Enterprise. And if I do an ls here, you can see we have Puppet Enterprise installer. So I'll say // Puppet Enterprise installer. So this will actually ask whether you want to go for guided installation or you want to go for text mode. I'll select guided installation. So I just type 1, press enter. So it will take all the repositories required. He will do all the steps required. Please note, for this entire setup, it is mandatory to have your internet connection. Okay, if you don't have an active internet connection, you might face some difficulties. So as you can see here, he's picking up all the packages, all the required dependencies from internet. Now you can see here you get a link here, https puppetmaster.mylabs.com:3000. So we need to head down to our browser to this location to continue our installation. Now please note, if you get here something called localhost, let's assume if you're getting that, it means that your host file was not configured successfully. Please note, Puppet requires a dedicated host name. You cannot use localhost, otherwise you might face some issues when interacting with Puppet agent. I'll add that IP address. So this is the thing, I just copy pasted from the prompt. So he might say it's an insecure connection. I'll just click on advanced and I can say add exception because I trust this certificate, confirm security exception, and here it is. You get the page from where you can start your installation process. So just click on let's get started. Yeah, so basically it asks whether you want to install Puppet Master component on this server or other server. So if it's other server, you need to specify the details. So right now I want to install on this server itself, so it's cool. So my Puppet Master FQDN is, I'll say puppetmaster.mylabs.com. And then for database support, I'll tell him to install Puppet PostgreSQL and all. I don't have a dedicated PostgreSQL server. If I have it, then I can use the existing instance also. And this is the console admin users. So I'll set the password. So as you can see, the password must be of 8 characters at least. So I'll set the password as. So this is the password. I'll click on submit query. I'll just cancel this, no need to remember anything. So he just gives me a summary. I'll click on continue. So basically you might get some warnings. Okay, so some warnings like verify that hardware meets the requirements. So basically he expects that you must have at least 2 cores and 4 GB RAM. So my system had 4 GB, but it only shows 3.9 GB. So it's fine, not a problem. and it should have enough free space. So see, in production they expect 100 GB, but right now I'm working only on 12 GB. So this is just for your lab purposes. This is not like a production setup. So I'll just click on deploy now, because these are warnings. These can be ignored. That's not a problem. I'll click on deploy now. The moment I do that, you can see he will start the installation process. Okay. So please note, you can also click on log view here to see what's happening. So you can see he's downloading the repositories from internet. Now for this entire setup, internet connection is mandatory. Please ensure you're not using any firewalled internet, especially in offices. All the internets are firewalled. You might face some issues there. So please ensure that you contact your network administrator before going ahead with this installation. So this is the log view. Basically, you can see whatever things have been done here. Now, ideally, to complete this installation, it might take 15 to 20 minutes, subject to your internet speed. Okay. So I'll just pause this video, and once this installation gets completed, I'll come back to you. So now, as you can see here, my installation is been done successfully. Now he's doing the verification process. So it will take some time. So I'll pause the video again, and once every verification gets completed, I'll come back to you. So as you can see here, we have successfully installed Puppet Enterprise. So you can see the verification, all the verifications are successful here. Now I can click on start using Puppet Enterprise. So once again, you'll get this insecure connection. It's really cool. Click on advanced, add exception, confirm security exception, and that's it. So if you see here, next time if you want to log into Puppet Enterprise, you need not use any port number. If you remember, port number 3000 was for installation. Okay. However, if you want to log into the portal, it's directly port 80. So I'll give the username as admin. So admin is the default username, and the password is the same password that you have supplied during the installation step. So this is my password that I have supplied. I'll click on login. Close this. And here is the complete view. So this is the overview where I can clearly see that one node is running. And if I see the Puppet service status, if I click here, so it's still loading, so it will take some moments. If I click on the nodes, so you can see one node has been successfully registered. If I click on the license, so basically I'm working on the complementary license, in which I can use 10 complementary nodes, out of which one node is in use. So basically your one system, that is your Puppet master, is also counted in your license. So to increase the number of licenses, obviously you need to contact Puppet sales. I mean, those things are pretty common. If you click on the access control section, in the access control, you can create multiple users by clicking on users. So right now we have one user, that is admin user, API user, that is API_user. We can create a local user, like for example, I'll just say Prashant Nair. I'll give the login as Prashant, and then I can click on add local user. Okay, so this is nothing but he will be able to access Puppet Enterprise, and you can define the user roles here. So we have a separate section for this. We'll not discuss about this now. However, we can very well see that Puppet Enterprise has successfully been installed. And if I try to check the status, one or more Puppet services not accepting request. Okay, so it might take some time for him to load. That's it for now. Thank you very much. Have a great day.